I was never the kind of person who believed in the supernatural. If someone told me they had a near-death experience, saw a tunnel of light, met a divine being, I would smile politely and change the subject. I believed in science, in numbers, in the cold logic of the universe. But then, I died, at least for a moment. And when I came back, the world I thought I knew was no longer the same. You don't have to believe what I'm about to tell you. If I were in your place, I probably wouldn't believe it either. But just listen, be patient, because by the time this story ends, you might see the world through different eyes. My name is Michael Carter. I'm 38 years old, an electrical engineer, and I live in a small town in Colorado. If you've ever been to Colorado, you'll understand how I feel about this place. Endless pine forests, long winding roads stretching through valleys and mountains. It's peaceful, perfect for someone who wants to escape the noise of city life. But for me, peace often felt like loneliness. I used to have a stable life, a good job at an electronics company, a cozy little house just outside town, and most importantly, I had Emily, the woman I loved more than anything. She was my light, the reason I woke up every morning with a smile. But then, in just one brief moment, everything fell apart. 2 years ago, a drunk driver ran a red light and crashed straight into Emily's car. The police said she died instantly, that she didn't feel any pain. But that didn't make my pain any less. When you love someone enough, you don't just lose them. You lose a part of yourself. The months after Emily's death felt like a never-ending nightmare. I tried to keep living, tried to work, tried to pretend I was okay. But every night when I returned to my empty house, I felt like I was living in a world without meaning. I started questioning everything. If the universe followed strict laws, if life had a logical order, then why did Emily have to die like that? If God existed, why would he allow it? For a while I turned to religion, searching for answers in churches and scriptures. But I felt nothing. The sermons about life's purpose, about heaven, about divine plans, they were just empty words to me. So I went back to science. To me, it was the only thing that could truly explain the world. I believed in physics, in mathematics, in circuits and technology. I didn't believe in heaven. I didn't believe in God. But then, a bolt of lightning took me to him. That day was a summer afternoon, the sky heavy with dark storm clouds. I had a strange habit. Whenever I felt overwhelmed, I liked to drive out into the wilderness, to a place where there was no one but me and nature. Colorado had plenty of places like that. Remote dirt roads winding through the woods, high plateaus overlooking endless valleys. That day, I chose to drive up to a small plateau about 20 miles from town. A lonely place where it was just me, the wind, and the sky that was growing darker by the minute. I sat on the hood of my car, staring at the horizon. A storm was forming. Lightning flashed in the distance, painting jagged white lines across the sky. I wasn't afraid. I liked storms, the chaos, the raw power of nature, something beyond human control. I stood up, spread my arms wide, as if challenging the universe. "Is there anyone out there?" I shouted into the wind. "If there is, give me a sign." And then, I got my sign. A blinding white flash tore through the sky. The last thing I felt was an unbearable heat engulfing my body before everything turned black. I had been struck by lightning, and at that moment, I left this world. It came without warning. A blinding flash tore across the sky. In less than a millisecond, everything was obliterated by an unimaginable surge of energy. I didn't have time to think, no time to react. There was only pain, a kind of pain beyond words. It wasn't like being burned. It wasn't like any injury. I had ever felt. It was like a million electrified blades piercing through every fiber of my being, ripping apart my veins, boiling my blood. Every muscle in my body contracted violently, locked in a state of unbearable tension. I heard the sickening sound of my bones cracking, felt the heat of my own flesh searing. Then suddenly, it was gone. No more pain. No more sound. No more me. When awareness returned, I realized something terrifying. I was still here, but I was no longer in my body. I was floating, suspended in midair, not rising, not falling, just existing in a weightless void. I looked down, and I saw myself, my body, lying motionless on the ground, smoke rising from my scorched clothes. I could see every detail, my own face, my burnt arms, the singed strands of hair. It was me, but at the same time it wasn't. A strange sensation crept into my mind. I should have been terrified. I should have been screaming. But I felt nothing. No fear, no pain, only detachment. I tried to move, or at least I thought about moving. But I had no body to control. No arms, no legs, no form. Yet I still existed. And then, a realization far more terrifying dawned upon me. I was no longer a part of the physical world. A light appeared. It wasn't coming from a source I could identify. It wasn't the sun. It wasn't artificial. It had no shape, no direction. But I felt it. It was more than just illumination. It was alive. It carried a presence, an energy beyond comprehension, and I was being pulled toward it. Not floating, not flying, just being effortlessly carried forward, as if the concept of movement no longer applied. A strange sensation washed over me, both peace and unfamiliarity. I no longer felt gravity. I no longer felt time. There was only light and silence, and then I saw him. He did not appear as an old man with a flowing beard, not like the paintings of the Renaissance. He had no face, no shape that I could recognize, only a being of pure light, vast, infinite, radiating wisdom and an unfathomable love. I heard no voice, but I understood. Words were not spoken, yet they echoed within me as if I had known them all along. You have arrived, not a question, not a greeting, simply a truth. A strange emotion flooded me, not confusion, not fear. I felt as if I had finally come home, though I didn't know where home was. I wanted to ask so many things. I wanted to know if I was dead. I wanted to know what was happening. But before I could even form the questions, I already had the answers. This is not the end. This is merely a doorway. No judgment, no condemnation, only absolute acceptance. And then, something incredible happened. I began to see my life, not just as a series of images, but as a complete experience of every emotion, every thought, every consequence of my actions. I saw myself as a child, running through a field with my father. I felt the unbridled joy, the innocent excitement of discovering the world. I saw my mother, her gentle eyes filled with love as she cradled me when I was sick. I saw Emily, her smile, her warmth, the sparkle in her eyes. I felt again the nervous excitement of proposing to her, my heart pounding in my chest. And then I saw the pain. I saw myself alone in a dark room, an empty bottle rolling across the floor. I felt the crushing despair, the overwhelming grief of losing Emily. And then, I realized something. I had lived my life without ever truly understanding it. Every moment, every joy, every sorrow, they all had meaning. And then, he began to reveal the truth. The space around me remained filled with light, yet something was shifting. I couldn't describe it in words. It was as if this reality was no longer static but waiting for a transformation. for a question yet to be asked. I felt something profound, a mystery that humanity had always pondered but never fully answered, a question that had haunted mankind for millennia. And then, as if guided by an unseen force, the question burst forth from within me, clearer and more powerful than ever before. The pyramids. What are they really? Were they truly built by humans? I did not speak with words, yet my thoughts transmitted directly to the luminous being before me. God did not answer immediately. Instead, I felt a strange silence, as if he was letting me contemplate the question before revealing the truth. Then, the space around me shifted. Everything around me swayed. The light receded, giving way to a hazy darkness. I felt myself being pulled, not physically but in a deeper way, as though my consciousness was moving through an invisible veil, passing through layers of history. And then, I saw it. Earth. But not the Earth I knew. Beneath me lay a strange world. Towering mountain ranges stretched toward the sky, vast forests extended endlessly, and silver rivers snaked across the land like colossal serpents. But one thing stunned me above all. This was not the Earth of today. I saw continents shaped differently. Some regions looked completely unfamiliar. There were vast landmasses that no longer existed in my time. I realized I was looking at an era so ancient that humanity had no record of it. And in the midst of this vast land, I saw the pyramids. But they were not like the pyramids I had seen in Egypt or Mexico. There were no signs of time's wear, no erosion, no damage. They stood tall, flawless, their surfaces smooth as crystal, reflecting the brilliant sunlight. Some of them even emitted a faint glow, as if made of a material unknown to mankind. I looked down and saw beings, human-like creatures, walking around these grand structures. These beings looked very much like humans, yet there was something different about them. They were taller than modern humans, with perfectly proportioned and powerful physiques. Their eyes were brighter, deeper, as if containing entire galaxies within them. They moved with an unusual grace, as though gravity had little effect on them. They did not use metal tools like ancient humans I had studied. Instead, I watched as they moved colossal stone blocks, not with cranes or carts, but with some invisible energy. Massive slabs of stone, weighing dozens of tons, floated effortlessly into position. No sound, no physical strain, just a silent but immense force at work. I was utterly astonished. "Who are they?" I asked. "God." This time God responded, immediately. "They are not aliens as you think." That answer confused me. Then, "Who are they?" God remained silent for a moment before speaking words that sent shivers through me. "They are the origin of humanity." I was stunned. "You mean, they are our ancestors?" But I thought humans evolved from primates. God neither confirmed nor denied. He simply said, "Evolution is not as simple as you believe. There are things humanity has yet to discover." I looked back at the tall beings, and a terrifying thought flashed through my mind. Could it be that they were the original inhabitants of Earth, and that modern humans are merely remnants of this lost civilization? God continued, "The pyramids, you know, today are mere faded copies of the grand structures they once built. They were not just architectural feats. They were energy centers, connecting points to the universe." A chill ran down my spine. Then, what happened to them? As soon as I asked the question, the scene around me changed once more. The sky suddenly darkened. Dense black clouds rolled in, completely obscuring the sun. I heard the howling of the wind, the thunder rumbling across the heavens. And then, I saw it. A massive fireball hurtling from the sky, crashing into the earth. A deafening explosion rang out, so powerful that I could feel the shockwave even though I no longer had a physical body. I watched as the oceans rose, swallowing cities. Volcanoes erupted, the ground trembled, and the pyramids were buried beneath sand and ash. The tall beings tried to escape, but they could not stop the disaster. Their civilization was almost entirely wiped out. Only a few survived. They retreated to safe zones, attempting to preserve the little knowledge they had left. But over time, memories of this golden age faded away. Their descendants, the primitive humans, had to start over. But the pyramids remained, silent witnesses to a lost era. I turned back to God. So, can we regain what was lost? God answered, with a phrase that sent chills through me. Earth is not just a planet. It is a conscious being, and it is asleep. Those words echoed in my mind as I felt myself being pulled back. After witnessing the destruction of the ancient civilization, I turned to the being of light before me. God, or whatever name humanity wishes to call him. A new question arose within me, something even greater than everything I had learned so far. Then, what is Earth really? The space around me shifted. I was no longer seeing visions of the past. Instead, I began to feel something vast, something I had never truly grasped before. I was no longer standing on solid ground. I was floating in space, gazing down at the beautiful blue planet silently spinning in the vast cosmos. But the strangest thing was that I felt it, not in the way a scientist observes a celestial body, not in the way a soldier studies a geographical map, but in the way one soul touches another. For the first time in my life, I felt that Earth was not just a sphere of rock and water. It was not merely a place where humans built cities, extracted resources, and lived their lives. It was alive, and it was asleep. God conveyed an undeniable truth into my mind. Earth is not just a planet. It is a conscious entity, but it is asleep. Tutter, shiver ran through me. What do you mean? A planet can have consciousness? God did not answer immediately. Instead, I felt a shift, a vibration, not just in this space, but within my own mind. I saw images of Earth over millions of years, from a fiery molten sphere to a cooling, life-sustaining planet. I saw primitive creatures emerge, evolve, and flourish. And then, humanity was born. But I saw something else, something I had never considered before. A rhythm, a flow, a breath. Earth was not static. It had a life force of its own. Suddenly I understood. Humans had always sensed this, but had never fully realized it. When a person stands atop a mountain, they feel a sense of vastness but also something greater lingering beneath the surface. When someone walks through a dense forest, they sense a whisper in the rustling leaves, in the wind that dances between the trees. When someone stands before the endless ocean, they feel an overwhelming power yet also a deep tranquility. These sensations are not mere imagination. They are the signs of a living entity, breathing, existing, but it is sleeping. I looked down at the beautiful blue planet, and a terrifying realization struck me. Natural disasters are not just physical events. I saw violent earthquakes, colossal tsunamis, raging storms, and I heard something else. A sound, not a voice but a groan, a warning. God spoke to me. Earth is still asleep, but it senses what humanity is doing. The earthquakes, the storms, climate change, these are not just natural occurrences. They are signals. They are Earth's way of trying to warn humanity. My heart pounded. A deep fear crept into me. "What is humanity doing?" God answered. "They are awakening it, in the worst possible way." Visions flooded my mind. Forests being destroyed, rivers poisoned, scorching heat waves ravaging cities, skies choked with pollution. I realized something. What we call natural disasters are actually Earth's responses. Just as a human body sneezes, when a virus enters, Earth reacts to what humans are doing to it. And if humanity continues to destroy, Earth will wake up. And once it awakens, no one knows what will happen. A deep dread settled in me. "Is there a way to stop this?" I asked. "God," he responded, "Earth is your home. You have a responsibility to protect it." The words echoed in my mind like an undeniable truth. God continued, "Humanity has lived on Earth long enough to understand that their true origins no longer matter. What matters is that they are here, now, and they have a duty to this place." And suddenly I understood. It didn't matter where we came from. It didn't matter if our ancestors were from an ancient civilization or some forgotten history. What mattered was that we are here, and we are responsible for this planet. I looked down at Earth once more. It was still asleep, but I could feel the unrest beneath its surface, a growing tension, and I knew that if humanity continued on this path of destruction, Earth would react in a way no one wanted. God spoke one final sentence. "If you do not heed the warnings, Earth will restore its balance in its own way. And that way may be harsh." A tremor ran through me. A force pulled at me. I was being pulled away from this space, back to the world of the living. But I knew I was not the same anymore. I now knew the truth, and I knew my responsibility. I had no idea how long I had been there. The feeling that enveloped me wasn't fear or regret. It was a profound understanding. I had seen the truth, a truth no one had ever told me before, a truth that could change everything. But then, I felt a powerful force pulling me back. The light around me began to fade. The final images of Earth, of everything I had just witnessed, slowly drifted away. A voice echoed, not through sound, but through direct perception. "Remember, you have been chosen to carry this message." The pull grew stronger. I felt myself being dragged back somewhere. And then, the pain hit. My breath caught in my throat. A rush of cold air flooded my lungs, as if I had just surfaced from deep underwater. I opened my eyes. Everything was blurry. I heard voices, hurried footsteps, the beeping of medical machines. A strange smell filled my nose, the sterile scent of antiseptics, the unmistakable smell of a hospital. I was alive. My entire body ached, especially my chest and right arm. I tried to move, but it felt like a massive weight was pressing down on me. A voice called out nearby, "He's awake! Call the doctor!" I turned my head with difficulty and saw a nurse standing beside my hospital bed. Her face was a mix of surprise and relief. Moments later, a doctor entered the room, checking my pulse and reflexes. "Do you remember what happened?" he asked. I struggled to speak, my voice hoarse. "I was struck by lightning." The doctor nodded, making notes on his clipboard. "That's right. You've been in a coma for 3 days. You're very lucky. Very few people survive a direct lightning strike." 3 days? Had I been over there for 3 days? After the doctor left, I lay there, staring at the stark white ceiling of the hospital. I had seen God. I had been shown truths that humanity had never known. But if I told anyone about this, would they believe me? They would probably say I was hallucinating. They would claim the electric shock had damaged my brain. They would find every possible excuse to explain away my experience, to deny the reality of what I had been through. Even if they didn't mock me, they would forget it soon enough. Humans are like that. They only believe what they want to believe. But I couldn't stay silent. I had to do something. I remembered God's words. Spread this message. But how? If I stood in a public square and shouted, "The earth is a sentient being," would anyone stop to listen? No. But this was the 21st century. I didn't need to stand on the streets to preach. I had a more powerful tool, the internet. I could write everything I had seen, everything I had felt. I could share it with the world. At first, people might doubt me. They might laugh. But somewhere out there would be those who would listen. Those who had experienced something similar. Those who knew that the world held more mysteries than science could explain. That was why I decided to write down my story. Not to convince everyone, but to find those who could understand. God is real. But not in the way religions describe. He is not an old man with a long beard sitting high above judging us. He is light, wisdom, and unconditional love. And he has shown me a truth that humanity has long forgotten. The earth is not just an inanimate planet. It is a conscious being, asleep. And it is trying to speak to us. The earthquakes, the storms, the tsunamis, they are not just natural phenomena. They are warnings. If we continue to destroy, to remain indifferent one day, the earth will awaken. And when that happens, no one knows what will come next. Live. Enjoy life. But never forget that the ground beneath our feet, the water we drink, the air we breathe, these are the things that keep us alive. If we don't protect them, who will? I don't expect everyone to believe me. But if just one person, just one, listens and understands this message, then perhaps I will have fulfilled my purpose.